You know, with these specific types of men, when they see strong women, they're like, don't really like that. Got to do something about that. They're not going to actually pick on a weak person. This is what I mistook for narcissists. I used to think they picked on weak people. They don't pick on weak people. They pick on strong people. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. I've already filmed this, but then when I was editing, I didn't really like it. So I thought I'd just do it again. But because of my schedule, I'm going to be really boring and fold some laundry, which I have on this side of the bed with me. But what we are going to be also discussing is we're going to be touching up on a little bit of narcissism. This video specifically will be about narcissism in men. Please don't get offended. I do know that there are narcissistic women out there as well. In fact, I actually have a video on that if you would like to check it out. So no one in the comments, please state the fucking obvious and say not all men and stuff like that, because you're just gonna get ignored. Okay, so apologies for the state of this hair. It did actually look amazing this morning. My hair only ever looks nice when I'm about to go to the gym. Like, why? But yeah, we're gonna go into why narcissistic men specifically go for strong women. Now, let me just touch up on a few things first. I know the word gets thrown around a lot, and I know that there's different branches to narcissism. You can see in all shapes and forms across all genders. I'm just going into the men who love breaking down strong women, and you'll understand a little bit more when we go into a bit deeper into the video and when I start to go into a little bit more depth about their behavior. But let's just clear something up. I do know that it is a little bit of a buzzword at the moment, and people just chuck it around just to like describe someone they don't like or someone who disagreed with them on something. I do know that much as well. This isn't that. It's just some of the behaviors I've been seeing, and I've actually experienced myself. Now, I've been on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse twice in my life. And actually on one occasion it was women, and on another occasion it was a man. So I do know that it happens on both sides of the scale. So let's clear that bit up. Now, when a narcissistic male is trying to convince a woman who otherwise either is a fence sitter or doesn't want kids, you think to yourself, okay, why are you hanging around with this woman? Like, if she is either a fence sitter, like she hasn't made up her mind yet, or she's flat out told you she's not interested in kids, or she has a good career, or, you know, she's traveling at the moment, this man will do everything in his power to break down this woman. Why this specific woman? Because it's a challenge. So think of it like this. If you're looking for some fruit and you're really hungry, you're going to go for, you know, I'd go for the low-hanging fruit. However, this specific man, the way they see it is like, no, I'm going to go and climb that tree, and I'm going to get the juiciest, ripest, most difficult, most challenging peach or whatever fruit you can imagine off this tree. They're not just going to kind of get the low-hanging fruit. This is not a challenge for them. These types of narcissistic men, they want a challenge. They want something that they can feel like a victor. Notice every single kind of story that they tell anyone. They are like the, you know, winner in their story. They'll tell any story to you like, oh, I saved this person. I'm the victor of this person. That's how they will explain it. Because in their heads, in their like warped minds, and they have a very warped mind and a very warped idea of how they see themselves, they believe that they can do no wrong. They believe that they are perfect. They believe that everything else is a problem, everyone else is a problem but them. And it's literally just a kind of decoy so that they never have to face themselves. That is literally it. They're empty inside. They have absolutely no substance. The problem with narcs is they don't feel anything. So, you know, usually with other people, like they feel happy, they feel sad, they feel angry, they feel bored. Like narcissists, they don't experience any of these. They simply are like flatliners. I'm going to actually start calling them flatliners. They don't feel shit. They don't feel good. They don't feel bad. They don't feel sad. They don't feel fuck all. With these specific types of men, when they see strong women, they're like, don't really like that. Got to do something about that. They're not going to actually pick on a weak person. This is what I mistook for narcissists. I used to think they picked on weak people. They don't pick on weak people. They pick on strong people. They pick on people with a light. They pick on people with a high energy, or some sort of energetic output, because you need to think of these people as fucking parasites. Actually, don't think of them as that. They are that. That is what they are. They are literally fucking parasites. Why? Because they feed off a host. They go find a host and then they feed off that. It's no different to having a tapeworm. A tapeworm is in your gut and they're feeding off that person and they're taking that person's nutrients away from them. That is what they are in basically human form. So like I said before, because they don't feel anything and because they have absolutely zero substance, they have to latch onto something with some sort of a substance and then to suck that energy out of that host, if you will, that person. So what better person to pick on than a nice, strong woman who has values, who has something to lose, you know, i.e. a career, looks, the body, etc. You see these men sometimes, they pick on women who are like really hot as well. Usually when, you know, they're punching, they choose they choose women who are usually quite hot. Why do they want to have a woman with that? Well, not just for the genetic aspect, but because they feel like, oh, I'm going to break this person down. I'm going to latch onto this person. I'm going to latch onto them like a parasite and I'm going to suck everything good out of them. Like their confidence, you know, when they get them pregnant eventually and they convince them to have kids, the body goes. Then of course that person's confidence goes, their self-esteem gets etched away gently. This is over time as well. This doesn't happen overnight. So any kind of narcissistic abuse is quite stealth. It doesn't happen very obviously. It is quite hard to like prove as well that somebody is doing this, but this is a very gradual process. This is a very, very gradual process. And it's like something, because they're like a parasite, they gently ebb away at that person and they break them down gently over time. Like I said, it doesn't happen overnight and they won't do it openly. So they won't openly be aggressive. They won't shout. They won't scream. They won't say nasty things to this person. They'll do it very, very stealth and very quiet, very gently. And of course, the mask that they wear, because these people, these narcissists must be exhausted because they have to get up every morning and put a fucking mask on because they're a nobody. They have to put a mask on and they have to act. So they have to act charming. They have to act like they're everyone's best friend. They never seem to have a bad day. They never appear to have a bad word to say about anybody. And you know, when my shit detector starts going off is usually when like I've known this, say for example, they're a work colleague. I've known this person for like maybe 6 months, never had a bad day. They've never said a bad word. They're never negative. They never seem to kind of have a bad word to say about anyone. Now, this might sound what I'm saying is like, oh, what's wrong with that? You know, it sounds like quite nice. This sounds like a nice person. They've never got anything bad to say about anyone. Let's think about it from a human level. We've all got someone we don't like, or we've met someone that we don't like, or that we don't get on with, or that we don't vibe with, or that we don't see eye to eye with. This is completely normal. You know, people, we're not supposed to get on with everybody. Like, we're not supposed to vibe with everybody. So when I come across someone and they apparently vibe with everybody and they love everybody and they go around hugging everybody, I'm a bit like, come on now. I don't know. For me, with my instincts, something is off. So let me give you a prime example of this. I've got a video about ballerina farm girl, or whatever her name is, Hannah Neilman or whatever. Her husband literally hunted her down, right? So when she met her husband, who is the son of a CEO of Jet2 or something like that, initially they just met and it was like, yeah, okay, whatever, nice to meet you. I'm a ballerina. I'm studying at, I think it was New York City Ballet. She was set to be a prima ballerina. She had a whole career, whole life ahead of her. She was set for every single success. But what did her husband do? Went and hunted her down, literally like changing his seat on a plane so that he could, you know, oops, bumped into you. What are the chances of me sitting next to you on the plane? And this is what I mean by the parasite leeching itself and latching itself onto its host. And then before you know it, she's a stay-at-home farm mum with like 8 kids, and the woman's fucking exhausted. Like, she literally said that she sleeps for like 3 days straight because she's that exhausted from motherhood. This is somebody who was set to be a prima ballerina, had every single success lined up for her. But no, somebody came away, some narcissistic fella came along and was like, nope, not having any of that. You're not going to shine any kind of that light around me. no honey, got her pregnant, brainwashed her into believing that, you know, oh, this is the life you want. This is the life you're meant for. This is the life oh, but you're so good at this. I love that one. People used to try and convince me of things. Oh, but you're so good at it. And I kind of wouldn't be any good at it. And somebody would try and convince me that I'm kind of good at something. Another prime example of this is when people say, oh, but you'd be such a good mother. I've never understood this comment, honestly. Like, I've genuinely never understood this comment. How can you know I'm going to be a good mother? This is what I don't understand. And I can assure you I will never be a good mother, which is why I don't want to do it. But going back onto narcissistic men like this is that they appear very humble. Bottom line is they appear incredibly humble, like, oh, butter wouldn't melt in my mouth, never got a bad word to say about anyone. And one of the biggest red flags for me specifically is when they're, no offense, but when they're very, very close to a faith or a religion. I'm not going to mention any specific religion per se, but when they're very close to God and they constantly talk about it. Now, I found this with somebody I used to work with. They used to constantly bring their faith and their religion into every conversation. I haven't asked you about your religion, and I can assure you right now, for those of you who are new around here, I'm an atheist. And those of you who are old around here, you'll know my stand on this, but just don't shove it down my throat, okay? I'm not interested. But those people who have this faith and they want everyone to know about it. Oh, I went and I prayed today, or I did this, or I, you know, did Lent, or I did a 30-day fast for Ramadan. I don't give a fuck, okay? If that makes you feel better about yourself, that's absolutely fine. Me personally, I didn't ask you. So when someone brings this to the table constantly, like, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a this, I'm a that, I have to start questioning what your motives are. Like, is it because you want me to praise you, or do you want me to think that, oh, you're such a good person? I find that this is always used as a decoy. It's always a kind of, oh, but it can't possibly be him, but he's so close to his faith. Oh, no, not him. It's so that nobody can ever suspect them for any kind of wrongdoing. We've gathered that they kind of pick on strong women because it's more of a success story at the end. There's no joy in taking any old woman who wants kids off the street and settling down, because there's no story here. There's no praise, there's no beers, there's no backslaps. Do you know what I'm saying? It's much, much more interesting and challenging for a narcissist when they pick on a nice, strong, independent woman, get her to be convinced by love bombing her and showering with her with affection and compliments, getting married, getting her tied down with kids, so that she's basically trapped. Because let's face it, it technically can be a trap because, well, it is a trap, because that guy can just fuck off, let's face it. And then that guy can then turn around and be like, oh, I tamed one. I got a wild one and I fucking tamed her. Kudos to me. I'm a big guy. This is what they want to talk about. You know, it's not interesting when it's like, oh yeah, I just met Jane in uni, we got married and we decided to have a kid. This is fucking boring. It doesn't sell. This story doesn't sell. They need a story to sell. It's much more interesting when they're telling all their guy friends, oh yeah, I tamed a wild one and she's so devoted to me. She's locked up at home while I'm out here having beers with my boys, and she's at home breastfeeding. Okay, this is more interesting. I like to see it as this. When I need reminding, because sometimes, like I said, these people are really hard to spot. Very, very hard to spot, because they're incredibly lovely people to your face. And like I said, they're incredibly humble, incredibly kind, never have a bad word to say about anybody. When my shit detector's going off, but then they're acting like that, it can be difficult because there's this contradiction going on, right? However, I like to remind myself of this analogy, and that is that thieves don't break into empty houses. Now, if you were a burglar and you needed to burgle a house because you wanted some goods, where would you go? You tell me where you would go, okay? Me, I'd go to like some nice flashy house with a nice car on the drive, something that looks like it has valuables in it. Something that where I look at the host of this house and I think this person's rich, they've got money, they've got nice jewelry, they've got probably nice gadgets in the house, like laptops, iPads. I'm not gonna turn up to a fucking council estate with like broken windows and some half-broken toys on the porch. You're not gonna find anything. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is how a narcissist views women. It's not going to look at the woman who's like really easy or like already doesn't have any confidence or stuff like this. This is too easy for them. There's no joy in this. There's no challenge, right? They're going to go to like the big flashy house. Like, these people have got something to lose. I've got something to gain. And that is exactly what I remind myself. Every time my instincts are like, I'm not sure. But then my ego's like, hang on a minute, but they're being so nice to me. No, you got to stop. You got to listen to yourself, breathe, and be like, what are my gut instincts telling me? Because take it from someone who's ignored their gut instincts so many fucking times that I'm literally ready to punch myself in the face. Do not disregard your gut instincts. There's a reason it's called inner tuition, and it's because it's trying to teach you something. And I've completely forgotten about this fucking laundry now, and it's piling up. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a massive thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.